You've got big projects to tackle, but your day gets swallowed up by repetitive tasks and constant inquiries. It's hard to make progress when you're stuck putting out fires. That's where Element 451's AI assistants come in. Acting like an extra set of hands, you get your time back for the high-impact projects. Ready to reclaim your time? Visit element451.com/AI team to learn more.
Welcome to In Your Element, the podcast that unlocks practical wisdom in higher education, where leadership meets real talk. I'm Brendan Hinkle, Manager of Solutions Engineering here at Element 451.
And I'm Daniella Norden, Element 451's Director of Customer Success and Engagement. Join us every other Thursday for discussions with everyday heroes using Element 451 in enrollment, marketing, and student success. We'll unlock the practical tips to help you make waves on your campus.
In Your Element is a part of the Enrollify Network, a robust collection of podcasts designed to help higher education professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at enrollify.org or check out some of my personal favorites linked in the show notes below.
Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com. All right, so Matt, Brendan was telling me when you guys met that you had this great story about how Element helped you connect with students quicker, making sure nobody's waiting around for, that old school traditional letter in the mail. What's a good example of how that made a difference for a student or maybe even internally for your team's workflow?
Yeah, so just to give you a little background on what we do, we've used the rules component to create automated task creation with each milestone. So when a student reaches a new milestone, they get a new task that's created for the assignee. And that allows for quick and efficient communication. And of course, through insights, we're able to track the productivity or the success rate of on-time completion for these tasks. But what it does is it allows us to very quickly communicate with a student, strike iron while the fire is hot. When a student inquires, we're reaching out to them immediately and explaining to them, what the next steps are going to be and trying to get them in for an appointment or whatnot. So I'm not sure I have an exact specific example for a student that pops out, but I think that what it does for our staff, this creates a situation where we're not constantly looking for who is a new inquiry or who is a new applicant or who is a new accepted student. That information is put right in front of us by way of tasks. And so we're able to kind of go in and see what our tasks are and take care of those in a timely fashion. The other thing that we are able to do with this, which is again a time saver, is once we communicate with a student, we create another task using the task templates. And that task is set up for 30 days from that point in time. So at no point do we really ever have to run a segment to see which students should be communicated with at this given time. There are tasks that are just constantly going. I love it because I'm not burdened with creating a segment and seeing 50 students within a segment that I need to communicate with this week. Instead, I'm seeing 4 or 5 students I need to communicate with today. And then tomorrow I have 4 or 5 students, and maybe the next day it's 10 students. But it's all based on when they enter that new stage when they reach the new milestone. I love it. And I think that those who are using Element within my team and across Penn Highlands also are enjoying that. It's a time saver.
I love it because you mentioned my favorite feature, aspect, whatever, of Element, which is Milestones. They are your source of truth and accuracy. So I've never heard of anybody creating a task around the milestone. That's freaking brilliant. It's that automated timestamp that student gets where they are in the funnel. So smart. And I love it because you mentioned insights too, because we pull that data from those milestones, from those system fields, so that you've got this accurate representation of that funnel. That is a great example, Matt. Well done. Yeah. You mentioning milestones actually also made me think of something else. So I don't know if you know this, Matt, but I think Penn Highlands was one of the customers who helped us set up the simple forms, or the forms that don't have a prospect milestone. So if you remember it was a few months after I started, you had reached out saying, why are we getting all these prospect milestones for students who are already in the system? And if, for those of you who don't know, Element adds that prospect milestone every time an inquiry completed a form or signed up for an event. And you uncovered that that's not always the case for prospective students. So we have a whole new form system now where you can toggle on and off that prospect milestone. Everybody can give thanks to Penn Highlands for that one.
Well, and I did not know that was in part thanks to our communication with you, but that's great to hear. I think that's a really neat example of how Element listens to what your partners have to say, and really one of the reasons why I think, at least from my perspective, why we were interested in partnering with Element 451 was because the implementation process and the time that we spent with Brendan and Colin and Artis was fantastic, in that we kind of saw them as or saw you as maybe a mirror image of us in terms of small, relatively new and young in your area, and really kind of looking for that personal attention or personal connection with your clients or your partners, the way we are with our students and their families in the schools. And it's really kind of carried through to this point, 2.5 years into our contract, there's still that personal connection. It wasn't a sales pitch.
No. Oh, I love that.
I love that too. And while
pitch.
I appreciate the shout out, Matt, I think it's because you were using milestones correctly that it allowed us to do that. So everybody should be using milestones the way Penn Highlands is using milestones. I'm off my milestone pedestal. Brendan, you can come in now.
Well, also, Daniella, you'll also nerd out at this. So not only did they use milestones the right way and associate them with tasks, we're also using the insights dashboards to look at productivity within tasks, Matt, to look and see and pin down where were areas of opportunity. And I think that that's a beautiful story that we were talking about. So I don't know if you want to dig in any more about that, or any other ways that you've used insights to kind of pull that kind of information.
Yeah, so I'm really just kind of dabbling in insights at this point. We've been using Element for 1.5 years. In that first year, I feel like we really didn't have a whole lot to use insights for, right? You need to gather information before insights becomes relevant. And so it was this past summer where I started digging into insights a little bit more, because I felt that after a full year of usage, we had relevant information to be able to kind of, I don't want to say be a big brother in terms of what our staff are doing, but maybe more of a big sister, in the sense that I'm nudging and not looking over the shoulder. I don't know, maybe that's a terrible example, but what we're trying to do is use the first year as a baseline for a lot of things. And I'll give you an example of this. I used the task completion, and I looked at our task completion at each of our locations to determine where their baseline was. And then I can't task the different locations at the college with what to do, but I challenge them and say, hey, listen, if you want to get better at recruiting your students, here's a suggestion. I challenge you to improve your task completion rate, your on-time task completion rate. And so we'll have some conversations about that, because some of the tasks maybe are a little bit ambitious in terms of the completion time. I have some of them set for 2 days, and maybe we need to expand the time on that to be a little bit more realistic. But long and short of it is, I ended up using this as one of my assessment objectives. So I added that into my yearly assessment, mentioned that on-time completion of tasks is something that I feel was extremely important. And I created the measure and the tool and the target, and then analyzed the results from the first year, which really were more of just a baseline. And then I talked about the goals of improving upon that each year.
Whoa. I'm just going to come in with a Joey Lawrence reference.
Whoa.
Whoa. Integrating the tasks into the annual, yes, like wow.
I knew you'd like that. Whenever we talked about it, I was like, oh yeah, Daniella's going to eat this up.
That's fantastic. So it's my favorite insights dashboard. Please don't tell the EduData hosts, JV and Timothy, who work so hard on those insights. They work on applications, they work on funnel. The tasks and the management dashboard is my favorite, probably because I too am a manager, Matt. Like it gives you so much visibility into how long it takes to complete a task, what tasks are effective. That is stellar. Love that one.
Well, and I even love your analogy, Matt, of the big brother and big sister analogy, because it's a mindset thing, right? And I think that there's this stigma around management dashboards showcasing productivity. And it's like, oh, they're just trying to catch me not doing my job. When in all reality, you have to look at the output of what you are as an institution, the productivity of the institution, and see where the blockers are. Because maybe there's a different story being told. The story being told is not that Joe Schmo had 20% task completion percentage for the month of whatever. The story is that there were, this is a terrible, talk about bad analogies. The story is there were 3 potlucks that month that pulled people away from their computer that resulted in a low task completion percentage, right? So it's being able to find like the root problems, not to call out the individual people, and then just let people know, hey, this is the situation. We know this is what you're doing, but these are the tools that are set in place to help you do your job a little bit better, to help people be successful. So I love not only what you've been doing, but also your mindset. And I'm sure that is what comes off to the people there, but it's such an important thing to monitor.
Yeah. And I think the other component to that is it's not used as a, looking over your shoulder to see, are you doing what you're supposed to be doing, but maybe evidence that shows that if one person is doing better with their task completion on time than somebody else, you can maybe say, hey, listen, those who are completing their tasks on time are seeing a better return in terms of students moving through the milestones at a more efficient pace, and then maybe enrolling at a higher rate. Then it kind of gives a little bit of evidence to support that this personal communication that we're having with the students in a timely manner is actually impactful. And it's not just lip service that we're saying, oh yeah, you need to talk with your students and that's going to lead to good results. We have the data to show that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So I'm going to stake in the nerdy space here. We're going to stick with talking a little bit about numbers. We've talked about this a little bit before. You guys have seen some increases in enrollments and some other numbers. So how did the changes that you put in place, the tools that you put in place over the past 1.5 years since, utilizing Element and launching it, talk to me about those. What have you seen, and what parts of the process do you really think made the biggest difference?
Well, I'm going to, I think, raise some eyebrows here. I think you're going to be really impressed with what I'm about to say, because whenever I did a further dive into these numbers, I've known what our 24 enrollment has looked like. What I haven't done is really taken a deep dive into the comparison of where we are in 2024 as compared to where we were in 2023. I did this leading up to the podcast. And in 2023, we brought in a total of 385 new students, full-time, part-time, degree-seeking, 385. In 2024, we brought in 509. That's a 32% increase. And I can break that down further. If we talk about just those who are coming out of high school, we had 211 coming directly out of high school to the college in 23. In 2024, we bumped that number to 270. That's a 27% increase.
Whoa.
And if we take all other students, traditional and non-traditional, now this is leaving out special populations, which are students who are kind of recruited in different ways. We have a lot of partnerships with other institutions.
Yeah.
Where we can provide, for example, we have a hospital in our region that does certificate programs for nursing and rad tech and histotechnology. And what we do is we provide the core course requirements that allow the student to then earn an associate degree. So those students are kind of recruited for us the other institution does the recruiting. So I'm not including those students into this because those are relatively stagnant and are not impacted by Element 451 for the most part, aside from maybe the application and things like that. But if we take the traditional and non-traditional aged students, not those who are coming directly out of high school, but we're talking about the students who have had a gap year and beyond. We had 174 in 2023 and 239 in 2024. That's a 37% increase.
Wow.
And I don't think it's a coincidence that our first year using Element 451, we saw these increases. It's just, we haven't seen any increase. We've seen a decrease year to year until we partnered with Element 451.
Wow. I love that. That is so cool. Listen, we were sitting there talking and I was like, maybe you want to go pull some numbers. Maybe we want to find out a little bit more about you. Because you even said, you're like, well, I know we've had increases. And I was like, maybe we should pull those. Man, I am so glad that you pulled those. That is incredible. 32% increase. I mean, increases across the board. It sounds like with all of your different populations. Wow. That's awesome. I mean, right?
Yes, fantastic. Yes. Also, thank you for digging into those numbers. It's really nice to have a before and after or during, I think that's just, I love it. I love that you dug those up for the podcast. Congratulations, Matt. That's got to feel good. Job security.
Job security is right. Yeah, no, it does feel good. And I'll be honest, I've been doing admissions for 17 years. And for the first 8 or so years, I was accustomed to, without doing a whole lot extra, seeing increases in enrollment. And around 2015 or 2016, that's when things got a little bit perilous. And we started, for various reasons, declining population, a little bit more of a push to go into the workforce instead of the education realm. And this was at my previous institution and currently at Penn Highlands. And you started to see some flatlining and slight declines on a year-to-year basis. So to be able to, for the first time in quite a while, see an increase, and not just see a little increase, see a pretty dramatic increase, it's exciting.
That's awesome. Now that you've got this increase, though, the pressure is on, I imagine, right? Like, what are your plans for next year and for growing? What are you going to try to do different? Tell us what you got, cooked up.
Thanks for raining on my parade and not letting me soak that in for a little bit here. My goal for next year is to just see modest increases, right? I don't think we're going to see a 32% increase year over year consistently. But if we can keep ourselves in a position where, I think this year kind of allowed us to kind of get to right the ship, so to speak. I think we're not quite where we would like to be, but I think if we can continue to build upon where we are this year and not look back, I think that's going to be a positive for us. And so maybe seeing, between a 2.5% and 5% increase across the board for next year. When you stop and think about that, if we had a 5% increase, that's a 37% increase across the board over a 2-year span. So, I don't think it's going to be realistic for us to expect to see these kind of bumps year in and year out. But I do think it is realistic that we can use Element to continue our upward trajectory. And even if it slows down to some degree, there's only so many students, right? And there's a lot of colleges that are looking for those students. So beggars can't be choosers. We can't get too greedy.
Well, and I'm just going to chime in because I know you guys reached out for a demo for the AI suite. I think that if you put that on your docket for next year, once you see that demo, it's going to blow you away. And that'll open up a bunch of opportunities for you guys too. This team seems to be all about productivity, and those AI assistants are going to seriously help out there. So no pressure on that one either.
We did the demo.
Oh, you did it already?
We did it already. What's today? Today's Friday. I think we did it on Tuesday or Wednesday. And here's a little tidbit that you'll enjoy. While we're in the middle of the demo, I get a text message from our chief information officer, and he said, "No way we're going to be able to afford this. This is going to be $50,000." And then at the end, we get the numbers, and nowhere even remotely close to that, and smiles across the board. So we're very excited about, learning more about artificial intelligence and how it can, again, take us to another level. Element 451 by itself took us to another level without the artificial intelligence components. And now, our efficiency, I think, is going to be able to go through the roof, and those personal connections. It sounds strange, right? You automate things to become more personal, and you use artificial intelligence to become more personal, but that's really what we're looking to do with it, is to use artificial intelligence for the things that you don't have to be personal about, and then becoming more personal with and deliberate with our communications with students, as opposed to transactional. Now we can be relationship building.
Well, it's going to be really cool, because I think once you guys bring in that AI suite of all of the AI assistants, internal and external, I think you're even going to start to be able to bring more things into Element, even more than you're doing now, from, even looking at the AI assistants, the campaign builders that we have for marketing campaigns and things like that. I think it's really, again, speaking back to the beginning of the episode, y'all's mindset is always, what's next? How can we improve and move forward? And given the right tools, man, you guys are going to skyrocket. And I'm just so excited to see the results from that. All right, the time has come. The time that comes in every episode.
The time is now.
Where we have to ask, the time is now, where we ask you, Matt, when are you in your element? We must know.
When am I in my element? Well, in my personal life, I am in my element whenever I am with my family. I've got 2 daughters. I've got a beautiful wife. I've got 2 dogs to varying levels of attractiveness.
We're going to have to dig into that a little bit more. I'm going to need to know what that means. There's a story behind that.
Well, one's just a little bit old and kind of lumpy, and
that happens.
And one, from a personality attractive standpoint, she is very ornery and barks at everything and likes to tear up everything and just make life miserable until she's tired, and then she's the best dog in the world. So when I'm in my element in my personal life, it's spending time with family. I love to cook. I love to barbecue. So I like to do that sort of thing. And I always love whenever I cook something and people get enjoyment out of it. And so that's always fun to me. At work, I'm in my element when I'm in element. And I know that kind of sounds cliche, but I really enjoy.
I like that.
No one has said that yet, Matt. No one has said that. That was a softball, and no one has ever said that.
No one's ever said it.
That's awesome.
So you're the first, believe it or not. We're like 18 episodes into this show. 18 episodes in, and you're the first person that said
Nailed
that.
it.
So I love that. That's
Nailed
beautiful.
Fantastic. Yeah, Brendan, as you mentioned before, my assistant director of admissions, Tim Habercorn, and I spend a lot of our time within Element. I'm not going to say all of the time that we spend in there isn't without frustrations. As with anything, there are challenges in trying to figure things out, but we work together as a team. And I think that he and I come up with some ideas. A lot of these ideas that we discussed, and a lot of these things that we discussed, they're not my ideas. It's a team approach. And also Diane Smith, who is in our IT department, who is kind of the guru on all things. And, we bring
I miss Diane. I haven't talked to Diane in a long time, and she is the guru on all things.
She is unbelievable at the knowledge that she has, and the way that her brain works. I am very envious of that, and we're very fortunate to have her, and she has allowed us to really kind of use Element maybe in ways that it's not necessarily originally designed to be used, kind of thinking outside of the box and saying, hey, what if we did this? And then we try it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And the task automation is one of those times where we're like, what if we tried doing this, creating these automated tasks that go in and it sounds kind of simple and obvious at first, but until you get using it, you don't realize exactly how helpful it will be. So I really do enjoy spending time within Element and tinkering around and exploring new options.
I love that so much. Daniella, you know what I was thinking? Good partner school for you to link up with and just like pick brains together.
Yes.
CWI.
Yes.
College of Western Idaho and you, I don't know why you give me like the same vibe, like
Yes.
Luis over there on their team, like similar as you, like very much just loves like getting an element, getting his hands dirty and figuring out what they can do next. And so we'll have to like connect you guys like that would be a
great.
warm connection.
Yes. I had the same thought, and it's because I think you so deeply understand the intent, the why behind Element, that you can push the envelope on some of these things, and you can creatively sort of strategize about ways to use it, because CWI is the exact same way. Spent the time, they invested, they were thinking and learning about how to use it, and then that opens up opportunities. So we'll do that for sure. And Matt, I just have to say, I think that you're the most quotable guest that we have had. Like these like quotable quotes that you've just dropped along the way have been fantastic. So thank you for that.
Well, hopefully at some point I'll see some of those quotes in your advertising slogans.
Oh, hey, listen, any kickbacks, I'll just I'll Venmo them over. All right.
Yeah. I'll take those. Are either of you Seinfeld fans?
Oh yeah, I love Seinfeld.
So the Jerry Seinfeld 1 cent residual checks that he's getting from the reruns,
from the syndicated, yeah. The Bodenschatz tax is what we're calling it. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yep.
Oh man, Matt, thanks so much for joining us. It's truly been a pleasure to end our week this way. Excited to see what Penn Highlands does in the next year of using Element. And we'll have you on another episode in a year to talk about those increases and see how you prove yourself wrong and you have like even bigger jumps next year than you did this year with all the tools you're able to kind of put in place. So thanks again, Matt. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun, and you guys do a great job.
Thanks, Matt. Take care.
Matt. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
In Your Element is part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you'll like other Enrollify shows too.
Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional.
Our shows help higher ed marketers and enrollment professionals find their next big idea and feature a selection of the industry's best as your host. Learn from Mallory Wilsey, Artis Kadu, Maya Demishkovich, and so many other of your favorite leaders in higher ed.
Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered, all-in-one student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.